Alright, we are back. Outsiders Chapter 3, working on page 37. Let's go ahead and get started and see what happens. Is the blue Mustang going to come back? I don't know. Let's read and find out exactly what's going on. After the movie was over, it suddenly came to us that Cherry and Marcia didn't have a way to get home. Two-Bit gallantly offered to walk them home. West side of town was only about 20 miles away, but they wanted to call their parents and have them come get them. Two-Bit finally talked them into letting us drive them home in his car. I think they were still half scared of us. They were getting over it, though, as they walked to Two-Bit's house to pick up the car. It seemed funny to me that Socias, if these girls were any example, were just like us. They liked the Beatles and thought Elvis Presley was out. We thought the Beatles were rank and that Elvis was tough. But that seemed to be the only difference to me. Of course, Gracie girls would have acted a lot tougher, but there was a basic sameness. I thought maybe it was money that separated us. No, Cherry said slowly when I said this. It's not just money. Part of it is, but not all. You Gracers have a different set of values. You're more emotional. We're sophisticated, cool to the point of not feeling anything. Nothing's real with us. Sometimes I'll catch myself talking to a girlfriend, realize I don't mean half of what I'm saying. I don't really think a beer bash on the river bottom is super cool, but I'll rave about it to a girlfriend just to be saying something. She smiled at me. I never told anyone that. In fact, you're the first person I've ever really gotten through to. She was coming through to me all right, probably because I was a greaser and younger, and she didn't have to keep her guard up with me. Rat race is the perfect name for it, she said. We're always going, and never asking where. Did you ever have more than you ever wanted? So you couldn't want anything else and you started looking for something else to want? Seems like we're always searching for something to satisfy us and never finding it. Maybe if we could lose our cool, we could. That was the truth. Socias were always behind a wall of aloofness, careful not to let the real self show through. I'd seen a social club rumble once. The Socias even fought coldly and practically and impersonally. That's why we're separated, I said. It's not money, it's feeling. You don't feel anything, and we feel too violently. And, she was trying to hide a smile, that's probably why we take our turns getting our names in the paper. Two-Bit and Marcia weren't even listening to us. They were engaged in some wild conversation that made no sense to anyone but themselves. I have quite a rep for being quiet, almost as quiet as Johnny. Two-Bit always said he wondered why Johnny and I were such good buddies. You must make interesting conversation, he'd say, cocking an eyebrow. You keeping your mouth shut and Johnny not saying anything. But Johnny and I understood each other without saying anything. Nobody but Soda could really get me talking, till I met Cherry Valance. I don't know why I could talk to her. Maybe for the same reason she could talk to me. First thing I knew, I was telling her about Mickey Mouse, Soda's horse. I'd never told anyone about Soda's horse. It was personal. Soda had this buckskin horse, only it wasn't his. It belonged to a guy kept it at the stables where Soda used to work. Mickey Mouse was Soda's horse, though. First day Soda saw him, he said, "There's my horse," and I never doubted it. I was about 10 then. Soda Pop is horse crazy. I mean it. He's always hanging around stables and rodeos, hopping on a horse every time he gets a chance. When I was 10, I thought that Mickey Mouse and Soda looked alike and were alike. Mickey Mouse was a dark gold buckskin, sassy, ornery, and not much more than a colt. He'd come when Soda would call him. He wouldn't come for anyone else. That horse loved Soda. He'd stand there and chew on Soda's sleeve or collar. Gosh, but Soda Pop was crazy about that horse. He went down to see him every day. Mickey Mouse was a mean horse. He kicked other horses and was always getting into trouble. I got me an ornery pony, Soda would tell him, rubbing his neck. How come you're so mean, Mickey Mouse? Mickey Mouse would just chew on his sleeve and sometimes nip him, but not hard. He may have belonged to another guy, but he was Soda's horse. Does Soda still have him? Cherry asked. No, he got sold, I said. They came and got him one day and took him off. He was a real valuable horse. Pure quarter. She didn't say anything else, and I was glad. I couldn't tell her Soda had bawled all night long after they came and got Mickey Mouse. I'd cry too if you want to know the truth, because Soda never really wanted anything except a horse, and he'd lost his. Soda had been 12 then going on 13. He never let on to Mom and Dad how he felt though, because we never had enough money, and usually had a hard time making ends meet. When you're 13 in our neighborhood, you know the score. I kept saving money for that year, thinking that someday I could buy Mickey Mouse back for Soda. And you're not so smart at 10. You read a lot, don't you, Pony Boy? Cherry asked. I was startled. Yeah? Why? She kind of shrugged. I could just tell. I bet you watch sunsets, too. She was quiet for a minute after I nodded. I used to watch them, too, before I got so busy. I pictured that, or tried to. Maybe Cherry stood still and watched the sunset while she was supposed to be taking the garbage out. Stood there and watched and forgot about everything else till her big brother screamed at her to hurry up. I shook my head. It seemed funny to me that the sunset she saw from her patio and the one I saw from my back steps was the same one. Maybe the two worlds we lived in weren't so different. We saw the same sunset. Marshall suddenly gasped. Jerry, look what's coming! We all looked and saw a blue Mustang coming down the street. Johnny made a small noise in his throat, and when I looked at him, he was white. Marshall was shifting nervously. What are we going to do? Cherry bit a fingernail. Stand here, she said. There isn't much else we can do. Who is it, Two-Bit asked? The FBI? No, Cherry said bleakly. It's Randy and Bob. And, Two-Bit added grimly, a few of the other social elite checkered church said. Your boyfriends? Johnny's voice was steady, but standing as close to him as I was, you could see he was trembling. I wondered why. Johnny was a nervous wreck, but he was never that jumpy. Cherry started walking down the street. Maybe they won't see us. Act normal. Who's acting? Two-Bit grinned. I'm a natural normal. Wish it was the other way around, I muttered. And Two-Bit said, Don't get mouthy, Pony Boy. The Mustang passed us slowly and went right on by. Marcia sighed in relief. That was close. Cherry turned to me. Tell me about your oldest brother. You don't talk much about him. I tried to think of something to say about Derry and shrugged. Well, what's there to talk about? He's big and handsome and he likes to play football. Well, I mean, what's he like? I feel like I know Soda from the way you talk about him. Tell me about Derry. And when there was silence, she urged me on. Is he wild and reckless like Soda? Dreamy, like you? My face got hot as I bit my lips. Derry? What was Derry like? I started to say he's a good old guy, but I couldn't. I burst out bitterly. Oh, he's not like Soda Pop, and he sure ain't like me. He's as hard as a rock and about as human. He's got eyes exactly like frozen ice. He thinks I'm a pain in the neck. He likes Soda. Everybody likes Soda, but he can't stand me. I bet he wishes he could stick me in a hole somewhere, and he'd do too, Soda would let him. Two-Bit and Johnny were staring at me now. No, Two-Bit said dumbfounded. No, Pony Boy, that ain't right. You got it wrong. Gee, Johnny said softly. I thought you and Derry and Soda got along real well. Well, we don't, I snapped, feeling silly. I knew my ears were red by the way they were burning, and I was thankful for the darkness. I felt stupid. Compared to Johnny's home, mine was heaven. At least Derry didn't get drunk and beat me up or run me out of the house, and I had Soda Pop to talk things over with. That made me mad. I mean, making a fool of myself in front of everyone. And you can just shut your trap, Johnny K, because we all know that you ain't one of the home either. You can't blame them. Johnny's eyes went round and he winced as though I belted him. Two-Bit slapped me a good one across the side of the head and hard. You shut your mouth, kid. If you wasn't Soda's kid brother, I'd beat the tar out of you. You know better than to talk to Johnny like that. He put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. He didn't mean it, Johnny. I'm sorry, I said miserably. Johnny was my buddy. I was just mad. It's the truth, Johnny said with a bleak grin. I don't care. Shut up. Stop talking like that, Two-Bit said fiercely, messing up Johnny's hair. We couldn't get along without you. You can just shut up. It ain't fair, I cried out passionately. It ain't fair when you have all the rough breaks. I didn't know exactly what I meant, but I was thinking about Johnny's father being a drunk and his mother a selfish slob. and Two-Bit's mother being a barmaid to support him and his kid sister after their father ran out on him. And Dally, wild, cunning Dally, turning into a hoodlum because he'd die if he didn't. And Steve, his hatred for his father coming out in his soft, bitter voice and the violence of his temper. Soda Pop, a dropout, so he could get a better job and keep me in school. And Derry, getting old before his time, trying to run a family, hold on to 2 jobs, never having any fun. Well, the Socias had so much spare time and money that they jumped us and each other for kicks, had beer blast river bottom parties because they didn't know what else to do. Yeah, things were rough all over, all right. All over the east side. Just didn't seem right to me. I know, Two-Bit said with a good-natured grin. Chips are always down when it's our turn, but that's the way things are. Like it or lump it. Cherry and Marcia didn't say anything. I guess they didn't know what to say. We'd forgotten they were there. Then, the blue Mustang was coming down the street again, more slowly. Well, Cherry said resignedly, they've spotted us. Mustang came to a halt beside us, and 2 boys in the front seat got out. They were Socias, all right. One had on a white shirt and a Madras ski jacket. The other in a light yellow shirt and a wine-colored sweater. I looked at their clothes and realized for the first time that evening that all I had was a pair of jeans and Soda's Old Navy sweatshirt with the sleeves cut short. I swallowed. Two-Bit started to tuck in his shirt tail, but stopped himself in time. He just flipped up the collar of his black leather jacket and lit a cigarette. The Socias didn't even seem to see us. Cherry, Marcia, listen to us, the handsome black-haired Socia with the dark sweater began. Johnny was breathing heavily, and I noticed he was staring at the Socia's hand. He was wearing 3 heavy rings. I looked at Johnny quickly, an idea dawning on me. I remembered it was a blue Mustang that had pulled up beside the vacant lot, and Johnny's face had been cut up by someone wearing rings. The Socia's voice broke into my thoughts. Just because we got a little drunk last time. Cherry looked mad. Little? You call wheeling and passing out in the streets little? Bob, I told you I'm not going out with you when you're drinking, and I mean it. Too many things could happen when you're drunk. It's me and the booze. The other Socia, a tall guy with a semi-beetle haircut, turned to Marcia. Baby, you know we don't get drunk very often. When she only gave him a cold stare, he got angry. And if you're mad at us, that's no reason to go walking around the street with these bums. Two-Bit took a long drag on his cigarette. Johnny slouched and hooked his thumbs in his pockets, and I stiffened. We can look meaner than anything when we want to. Looking tough comes in handy. Two-Bit put his elbow on Johnny's shoulder. What do you call bumps? Listen, greasers, we got 4 more of us in the back seat. Then pay the back seat, Two-Bit said to the sky. If you're looking for a fight, Two-Bit cocked an eyebrow, but it only made him look more cruel. You mean if I'm looking for a good jump and you outnumber us, you'll give it to us? Well, he snatched up an empty bottle, busted off the end, gave it to me, and then reached in his back pocket and flipped out his switchblade. Try it, pal. No, Cherry cried. Stop it. She looked at Bob. We'll ride home with you. Just wait a minute. Why? Two-Bit demanded. We ain't scared of them. Cherry shuddered. I can't stand fights. I can't stand them. I pulled her to one side. I couldn't use this, I said, dropping the pop bottle. I could never cut anyone. Had to tell her that, because I'd seen her eyes when Two-Bit flicked out his switch. I know, she said quietly, but we better go with him. Pony boy, I mean, if I see you in the hall at school or someplace and don't say hi, well, it's nothing personal or anything, but I know, I said. Well, we couldn't let our parents see us with y'all. You're a nice boy and everything. It's okay, I said, wishing I was dead or buried somewhere, or at least I had on a decent shirt. We're all in the same class. Just don't forget, some of us watch the sunset too. She looked at me quickly. But I can fall in love with Dallas Winston, she said. Hope I never see him again, or I will. She left me there, standing there with my mouth dropped open, and the blue Mustang vroomed off.